This is another short video showing and sharing my screen of another free resource that is frequently updated about evidence-based practices. This one's a little bit more specific to special education, which is why it's the National Center on Intensive Intervention, brought to us by the American Institutes for Research. I want to draw your attention on this website to the same way we've looked at other websites. There's lots of information here depending on who you are. Are you a state local leader? Are you a trainer, a coach? Are you an educator? And so on. Down here you'll see how you can learn about these things, including potentially watching webcasts, videos with information about how to use these things and how to find tools. This is one area where you could potentially find information and use it, but I want to draw your attention all the way up to the top up here to tool charts, implementation and interventions, and then there are things by audience if you choose. But in tool charts, for example, they have how to use them and what does it mean, and then they have how it was put together. But over here you have assessment and intervention charts. In assessment, you have screening and progress monitoring broken down by academics and behaviors. So depending on which you're interested in, you can click on that and use that chart. I'll come back to that in one moment. Or intervention charts, again, being an academic intervention chart or a behavior intervention chart. If I click on implementation and intervention, you can see similarly we have some implementation tools like how to have an intervention plan, how to use intensification appropriately when we need to intensify an intervention because we think it's working but not at the rate we need it to for a student. What we need to know about fidelity of implementation, thinking about goal setting tools and therefore progress monitoring, because an important reminder is that the goals that we write for a student in their IEP or in their plan need to directly relate to the types of evidence or data that we're going to collect to show the effects of that intervention. Literacy, math, behavior. Taxonomy of intensive intervention. So what does it mean? What are some training resources, online modules, and learning opportunities? So the tool charts is one of the coolest, easiest things here, which is why I want to show it to you. So instead of an assessment, although this is very handy when you're thinking about like needing to screen for behavior versus, let's say, progress monitoring, and I'll click on it to show you. These are all resources you can click on. That's a wonderful resource. In the tool charts, I'm going to go ahead and go to behavior because that's what we're learning about in this class and for this particular program. And I'll just walk you through what you can find here. So up here, they'll explain what's available to you and how to use it. But here the legend shows you convincing evidence, partially convincing, unconvincing, no data available or not applicable. They talk about effect size, which they can define for you if you're interested, and then target behaviors, grades. And then underneath here, what you'll see is a title of something. So this first one is about a behavior education program for check-in and check-out. A lot of us are familiar with that particular program. It's used quite a bit in schools. It gives a review of a specific study, tells us it's a single case. The study design was strong with convincing evidence, and then they give you whether or not there's evidence available for disaggregated effect size and specific information if you're a researcher, for example. As an educator, what this means here is you can click and say, I may not have access to my university or college library website anymore or journal articles because they're expensive or it's not free access. But here I can come and say, I want to know about this study, and they'll have all of this information for you. Not only about the program itself, but the study will be summarized here, including who is this program intended for? What specific variables are we interested in or studied? And then in this case, it even gives you where you can obtain check-in and check-out information, the website, how much the manual costs, what is included in it. This is very valuable as an educator because it's free. And again, it's updated by experts when something new is added to the field, which is all the time. So come down here and you say program information again, and then training, which is important for us to consider. How much training is required to engage in an evidence-based practice, and summary of evidence base, including resources and research down here. And then you get to the study information. So they essentially summarize for you who are the participants in this study, what did they do. They give a table of information in this case about each of the students, since the small group of students with disabilities diagnosed with attention deficit. It tells us all kinds of information about the participants, and then down here the design of how they controlled for variables. Again, something we're interested in evidence-based practice, to say we can say beyond a certain amount of doubt, essentially, that we know what we found in this study is because of the intervention and not some outside force, because of the design that we used. So lots and lots of information here about the study itself, and that is true for all of the things when you scroll down here and you say, I'm interested in class-wide function-related intervention teams, and you could click here and get that same information about it. Keep scrolling and you see differential reinforcement of behavior. That is something that we are super interested in behavior. This is an older study, but if you click on it, you'll find the same kind of information. The good behavior game, contingencies, learning strategies, self-advocacy, non-contingent reinforcement, opportunities to respond. So when you scroll down here, you're able to click on each of these, find the evidence, links to other information. So another wonderful free resource I want you to know is available to you, hopefully indefinitely, but often updated. So it's a wonderful place to start when you're thinking about evidence-based practices.